Hey guys, Woody again, Word of Life Fellowship, Silverton. I just got back from the evening service in Olathe, and I was inspired to do a little short video based on something that we talked about, not even in the middle of the service, but in the, I guess you call it the pre-service, what we were talking about. And a minister got up and started talking about magnifying God and minimizing your problems. Specifically talking about physical problems. If you have a physical problem and it seems like the biggest thing in the world to you, you need to look closer at God, because He's a whole lot bigger. He's so much bigger, and the more you look at Him, the more you magnify Him, the more you glorify Him, the more you praise Him, the bigger He becomes to you. And the bigger He becomes to you, the more it puts in true perspective how small your problem really is. The bigger He becomes to you, the smaller your problem gets. And the Lord said this to me while this guy was talking. He said, magnify God and dissolve the problem. But if you magnify the problem, you're going to minimize God. If you focus on your problem and you get anxious and in anxiety and worry and fear about how big this problem is and how much it's ruining your life and how you're going to get over it and how you're going to overcome it, then you're minimizing God. You're taking your eyes off of God. He said, keep your eyes on my word. Keep your eyes on me. Watch what I'll do. When Moses was standing at the edge of the sea and holding up his staff, he said, watch and see how the Lord will deliver you this day. Keep your eye on Him. Look at how big He is. But something the Lord was saying to me when this minister was talking about this, He reminded me of the verse that says what value you give to something is the measure that you're going to get back from it. It was actually Jesus, and I went and looked it up in Mark 4:24. And Jesus said to them, be careful what you're hearing. The measure of thought and study you give to the truth you hear will be the measure of virtue and knowledge that comes back to you. And more besides will be given to you who hear. The King James says, take heed what you hear. Take heed how you hear. For the measure that you meet, it shall be measured back to you. What's he saying? How much attention you pay to something is going to determine the return you get from it. How much value you give something will determine the value you receive from it. So if you have a problem in your physical body and your finances and your family, and you give a whole lot of time and value, because attention is value. You give a lot of attention to that problem, you're going to reap results from that problem. But if instead you turn your attention to God and you start giving Him value, start worshiping Him, start blessing Him and looking at Him rather than the problem, then what you'll find is your problem will begin to minimize. Here's how it works. The closer you draw to God, the closer He draws to you. He said, draw near to me and I will draw near to you. And the thing about God is, when Moses said, Lord, show me your face, show me your glory. And God said, no, I can't. Any man who looks on my face will not live. But He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll set you in the cleft of the rock and I'll walk by and I'll keep my hand over you so that you'll not be burnt up. And then when I pass by, I'll remove my hand and you can see my backside. You can see me from behind. Because you can't look on my face and live. Why? Because the glory of God dissolves anything that has to do with the curse. Anything that has to do with sin, sickness, poverty, disease. If that's the case, we need to get closer to God when we have these kind of problems. The closer you get to God, the hotter it's going to get, so to speak. The closer you get to God, the closer you get, the more infirmities, the more sickness is going to burn off of you and be dissolved by the presence of God. So that's our word for today.